The KDKA Sports Desk is brought to you by Xfinity.
The Xfinity Sports Desk here on Pittsburgh CW. We take a look at some of the trending stories going on in sports today. And, of course, the big one, as we mentioned, was Allison Risk. We've talked about her for the duration of this tournament because she has just carved her way all the way through, including the #1 seed at Wimbledon. And today she faced Serena Williams. And that's not like facing an 11th seed because bottom line is Serena Williams is the greatest who's ever played the game, really. And this was one of those games in the third set, after it was one set apiece, where she had an opportunity really to get some points, win some games, break her serve as she did in the first set, but she couldn't get it done. Cross-court winners and good ones by Serena Williams that really, I think, took a lot of the wind out of Allison Risk's sails at that point. And then at the end, it was match point on an ace. She had 19 aces today, and she was really hitting them well, and Risk could not handle it. And as a result, Risk goes on and loses today, as I said, in 3 sets, but she put up quite a fight. Congrats to her. Meantime, now we're talking about Penguins, and we're talking about salary cap issues because they still, even though they're under the cap, they have 4 guys they need to pay. And one of them has taken them to arbitration. That would be Zach Aston Reese. And Reese is 24 years old. Today we found out his arbitration date came up, and it would be on the 22nd of July in Toronto. He only scored 8 goals last year, but he's a guy who, the more he plays, he's more of a factor. He made $925,000 last year. He wants probably $1.2 million. My guess is that Jim Rutherford and his agent will come to some deal before they ever go through this process. So those are your stories of the day on the Xfinity Sports Desk here on Pittsburgh CW. Gene, let me ask you about that. This arbitration issue in hockey is, one of those things where when you're talking about guys like Reese and Bluger and Marcus Pettersson, you're not going to see massive increases. No. So my guess is all of this will get done before it ever goes to that.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with you, Bob. I mean, the players like all of these players. They wouldn't want to see any of them leave. So yeah, I agree. I think it'll get done, and I like those guys too. I mean, I thought they contributed in significant ways last year.
All right, once tonight is over and we move on into the second half of the season, what's your take on the Pirates and what they may do? It's available. It's closer than they've been really in any time in the last 4 years, 2.5 out of first place and very much alive, at least mathematically. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, 2.5 out of the break, just as we all predicted, of course. I saw a betting line today on the changes in how many wins were predicted from the Pirates since the beginning of the season. At the beginning, on one site, it had them, the over-under on Pirate wins at 77. The same side is not really that convinced that there's been that much of a change, but it is at 80 now. I think one thing, I'm always hesitant to say these things because of the nature of baseball. It changes constantly, but it appears as though the Pirates really can be a good offensive team. They have reasonably accomplished hitters, and some up and down the lineup for the first time in a long time. It's just unfortunate that it's kind of flipped on them, that their pitching is not as reliable as they thought it was going to be. I think they have enough so that they can hang around for another month, maybe even 2 in the NL Central. But at some point, one of those 3 teams, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, I think are much more likely to get it together and go on and win close to 90 games.
I would agree with that, and we'll see what happens. But I've been thinking that all along. I thought one of these teams would take off by now. So far, it has not happened. Let's go to Calvin in Clearfield. What's up, Calvin? How are you?
Hi, Bob. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
Hey, Calvin.
Good.
Okay, got a couple questions for about the Pirates.
Sure.
Now, you got the trade deadline coming up here shortly. How active will the Pirates be? Will it be sellers and buyers? What do you think? Seriously.
All right.
What do you think?
Gene, what do you think?
Yeah,
Thanks.
seriously, I can't tell you till, the end of July. I mean, I know it's coming up fast, but it's July 9th. There's a lot of baseball to play before they have to make that decision. If they're about where they are now, they'll be buyers. If they're, 7, 8 games out, they'll be sellers.
Yeah, but I think it will depend. Let me ask you this. Do you think they're going to be more apprehensive because of what happened last year?
No, I think Neil Huntington realizes that, you take those shots and sometimes they don't work out. That one definitely did not work out. I'm not sold that's ever going to turn around, that Chris Archer's ever going to be an asset to the club. I think he's terrible, frankly. But I don't think that should make you gun shy the next time. I think it should make you even more aggressive, perhaps.
Yeah, but what do you have to offer? He gave up 3 first-round talents, basically.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have the.
He doesn't have all that much down there. And he may be unwilling to give more up just because of what happened.
He might be, but that would be a mistake.
Unless he believes this team is, I think it not only has to be still relatively close, he has to believe that they can win a world championship. Some GMs realize, regardless of what the numbers say, you're not World Series caliber.
Well, that's why they get the big bucks to make that decision.
They do. All right, line 3 we go. It's
show.
Paul on the north side. What's up, Paul? How are you? And welcome to the Sports Call.
Okay, Bob. My question is about the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. Well, not the All-Star game, the home run derby. I think what they should do to make it, instead of hitting 91 homers, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, but
or impressive.
Yeah. I mean, they could have put a couple of high school kids in there and probably got 40 home runs last night. Who knows? But anyway, why don't they, each player that's designated for the home run derby, their organization go into their minor leagues and bring up a pitcher to pitch to the guy? Like, not
well, they could choose whoever they want to choose, to be honest. I don't think there's any regulation on that, Gene. So, I mean, why not? I would get someone who like the batting practice pitchers, all of them know exactly where these guys want it. Their job is to get them ready for the game. Thus, they're not there to strike them out. They're going to put the ball right in their wheelhouse. And Guerrero did that every single time, and he hit every one of them, it seemed. So, what would you do?
I would do what I do, not watch it.
Gene Collier at his very best. Jim in the South Hills joins us right now on the Sports Call. What's up, Jim?
Hey, guys. Gene, I am with you 100%. The home run derby is just turned into a circus. Always has been, really. It's just about baseball and making money and marketing and all that business.
Wait a minute. You didn't find it to be fun last night at all?
No, I didn't even watch it.
Okay.
I flipped back and forth between another show. When Bell was on it, that was it. I didn't hear the results until this morning.
Okay.
That's how little I cared about it. But, in fact, I had to wait until 10:30 tonight to get my kicks on sports for the day with you guys, because the All-Star game is right there with the home run derby as far as I'm concerned. But I do have one comment about home run derbies and home run hitters. When you think about what's going on now, and what happened, with the drug enhancement days and Babe Ruth. It's so not even close who the best home run hitter was. I mean, Babe Ruth was hitting 50 to 60 home runs when the guy in second place was hitting 15 or 20. And I think that's how you can compare the eras. Eventually, baseball, which you'd really like to compare 100 and some years of history, it's getting more and more impossible to do that. And then the home runs that are being hit, and whether MLB has something to do with the ball or not, I think they do. It's just, I think it's too bad that Babe Ruth, because Babe was the best as far as I'm concerned, best ball player ever, and the distinctions between what he did in his era make that very clear. Your comments.
Gene, go ahead.
I don't disagree with any of that. I think I have the same opinion of Ruth as you do. I have a similar opinion of Hank Aaron, although he wasn't so far ahead of all of his contemporaries the way Ruth was. So I'm not going to sit here and argue against Babe Ruth. I think there are too many home runs being hit.
All right, we're due for a break. We'll take it right now. You're watching the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on Pittsburgh CW.